gotten so business-like. Where's the joy?
You know, that could be argued to be the theme of this movie.
Dang.
That's a good
If you weren't
point.
too busy hating on it.
No, he was looking for any joy in the movie.
Was that which one of the 20 themes was that?
There's only 4.
That's too many.
How was 4 too many themes?
Yeah, what the fuck?
4 is not too many themes. 4 is too many main points of the movie.
There's like
4 is too many
We'll
Avengers.
get there. Jesus Christ.
4 is too many Simon and Garfunkels. All right, keep it to 2.
Uh,
Nate's on a Simon and Garfunkel Green Day for his themes in a movie. You got to be 2 or 3. You come at me with this fucking NSYNC bullshit, I'm out.
just continue.
Hunger is a 2023 Thai drama where Oi, a woman in her 20s, runs her family's local stir-fried noodles restaurant in the old quarter of Bangkok. Nice. One day, she receives an invitation to leave the family business and join Team Hunger, Thailand's #1 luxury chef's table team, led by the famously ingenious and infamously nasty Chef Paul. Jake, what did you think about this movie? What's your overall review of Hunger?
Overall, I loved the movie. I thought it was a cool personal journey of. I'm gonna mess this up every time.
Yeah, let's go with that.
I loved watching her personal journey throughout it. I loved the just as she goes through her, first adoration and then uncertainty and then eventually conflict with Chef Paul, who, by the way, he was a great caricature
Oh my
of a
god.
chef.
Yes.
And the culminating battle, because really all of the cooking that they do, like as the movie progresses, like the cooking escalates to a point where it starts to kind of become a caricature too. It gets unrealistic. It gets exaggerated first, and then in the final thing, you're like, okay, they're not even going for like realism here, but it was really cool stylistically.
Yeah.
And I think I loved just about everything about this movie.
I agree. So it was pitched to me through the internet as Whiplash meets The Menu, which I have some thoughts on how accurate that is, but I think as like an overall quick, elevator pitch to somebody to watch this movie, yeah, it was cool like that. Like you get the mentor-mentee of Whiplash, you get the, eat the rich of The Menu a little bit. It's in a different limelight. It's more like people's expectations, I would say, or like a caste hierarchical system. I'm not sure how Thailand's set up economically, but I'm guessing it's something like this, and that might play a role into what we understand about it as dumb Americans who I never took an economy class in my life, and I think gas prices are the sole responsibility of the president of the United States. So
yeah, every day I go out with stickers for gas pumps. I'm doing my part.
So economically speaking, I am on the low end of the spectrum. But I still think that the movie was able to portray this idea of like what we should be doing with our lives in an interesting way that made me think about that kind of process. And it also had, like Jake said, really cool visuals. I loved the music. The music felt really good behind it. The chewing was horrifying. Like the way that they portrayed rich people eating was awesome. It was very Triangle of Sadness.
For someone who can't stand chewing, you sure pick a lot of chef movies.
No, I know Abby was
It's a
sitting there.
necessary evil.
Abby was like, when we watch Great British Baking Show, Abby's always like cringing when she hears the judges chew. And this whole movie, she was like, I hate everything about this. There's that scene in the pork makeout scene that she didn't like, and I agree, they were disgusting.
When you
God,
sent that snap of the makeout, and I was like, yeah, and I was like, I mean, yeah, they're really going at it. And then I watched the movie and I saw the scene right before that, and I was like, okay, I get it.
When I realized you guys hadn't seen the movie, I was so excited.
Well, part of me, I was like, oh, maybe it's like a mentor-mentee thing, and Nate's like, ew, the power struggle grows. But no, it was much more direct.
Right before that scene, we're like, are their hands still in the pork? and then we're like, they start kissing. We're like, no, no, no.
Fucking yeast infection. You're getting salmonella.
Have you ever been so passionate that you got diseased?
Ooh, I think a lot of people have. Nate, other
That's
than
a unique vector.
So Nate didn't like this movie. Nate, tell us why.
All right, I'm gonna backtrack slightly and say that I love the.
When I was 4, I also wanted to have caviar.
I love the style of the movie. I loved the two main actors. Like you said, like Chef Paul was great. I really liked it, and Oi's portrayal was more subtle, but like good. I love the food. Like I love watching them cook the food. I love the cinematography. I definitely love the music. The reason I'm upset about this movie is because it kind of goes back to what you said, like, oh, it's like Eat the Rich, but kind of, but less. Like it keeps. I feel like the movie went through about 4 different messages and then completely undercut or contradicted them. So like thematically, I hated watching it. Every single time something happened, by the third one, I was waiting for it to get undercut, and it was driving me nuts. So that's my problem, is the movie doesn't know what it's saying. That's my opinion. I don't think that the movie had multiple things to say and it didn't do them. It doesn't know what it's saying. I feel like this movie was trying to emulate some of these recent movies and just like missing the point. And it just drove me nuts while I was watching it, to the point where I was having trouble enjoying it.
So
I'd say the back half was worse for me.
It's like the like, I'm going to tell you how life works from a 25-year-old instead of like a 50-year-old.
Yeah. Oh, fuck the rich. Except one of the characters, like, okay, like, it just doesn't work in a story way. Like, I hated how Chef Paul got taken down, because that had nothing to do with the fact that, like, he's catering to the rich. He got taken down because he did something illegal. That's infuriating.
I don't think that matters.
Also, only rich people are out there hunting illegal game for the purpose of,
Yeah, but that's like a cause and effect. It doesn't. That's what happens in real life. That's not like that's not a dramatic payoff for a story.
I don't think that was the dramatic payoff. The dramatic payoff is how Oi responds to it and how the patrons of Chef Paul respond to it. That's the payoff.
So I would say that the constant changing of themes, I think, was there because Oi is constantly, she's figuring out what she wants, and every time the theme changes, it's because she becomes disillusioned. First, she thought that, I want to be this, the special chef for rich people. I'm tired of working in this family restaurant cooking for poor people. It's not enough. And then so she joined Chef Paul. She becomes disillusioned. She's like, no, I want to strike it out on my own and make my own name and be famous in that way and be rich. And then that doesn't work out. So as various,
I'll stop you right there. She does not choose to do that. She leaves because she's mad that he's breaking the law. That's the only reason she leaves.
But at that time, she still wants money, fame. She wants to be Chef Paul. She's just doing it in her own way at that point.
And you can tell that because when Chef Paul comes to the restaurant, all she cares about is what he has to say about her food still. Like, she still wants to be
I wouldn't, like, I feel like you guys are, like, coming up with plausible explanations for why the movie happened the way it does that do not actually appear in the movie. That's my problem. I like your interpretation, but it's not what happened on screen. She did not leave Chef Paul because she was disillusioned. She was putting up with the abuse, and then he killed a bird that's illegal, and she said, no, that's against the law. And he said, who gives a shit? Like, he said, who gives a shit? How is this different from a chicken? And she said, it's not about that. It's about the law, and left. And then just went to the next option.
See, but I think it was disillusionment, and that was more of a final straw. Because there were other times before that where she was clearly, like, freaked out by this guy. And, you could tell that she was having she doesn't say it. She's not a big talker. So a lot of what she's feeling in this movie, I feel like, came from them just showing her face.
Yeah.
She clearly had been having doubts about this whole Chef Paul thing, but she stuck with it because she wanted to do something more, and she thought that what he was doing was what she wanted.
I like your interpretation better than what I saw in the movie. Like, if that's what I guess in a more well put together film, if that's the case, then that wouldn't have been the final straw. Like, the line, but this is about the law, is not the point then. Like,
see, and I get what you're saying, especially in terms, like Ben, I think when you said, it was the lessons of a 50-year-old coming from a 25-year-old, because I think that's probably where we get this almost rushed aspect, is in order to fit this journey of hers into a movie, she very quickly goes from cooking at a family restaurant to all of a sudden handpicked to be sous chef to this great, to all of a sudden having her own, her journey goes very fast. And so it kind of gets like jumpy there. But I think that was probably just a necessity of, okay, we're going to squeeze this all into a movie.
I feel like they could have done, like, cut that scene and instead have one more scene of Paul being more abusive and going over the top. And that, if she had left because Paul was being abusive, that would have made perfect sense. And we would have moved on to the next stage. And I don't just want to nitpick on this one point. My point is, like, every decision, I feel like you could come up with an interpretation that sounds good, but when you watch the movie, that's not what actually happened. That's my problem. The same with, like, the sensationalism of the rich in the final scene, like, amazing duel between them.
Yeah.
And I liked the part about how all, like, rich socialites just, like, went with the opinion, but, like, him getting taken down because he broke the law instead of because of his own hubris is just, like, such a failure of imagination.
I mean, it was his own hubris.
Yeah, I think that's his hubris.
He said, he was like, no, this is fine.
And his hubris continues as he's getting arrested. He says, "I'm going to get out of
continues,
here."
But then he gets arrested. Like,
but did you hear what the patrons said as he left? The patrons told Oy, "I always thought his food was pretentious." They already turned on him. He got canceled, essentially.
I liked I liked the canceling and, like, what their interpretation of it. I just didn't like the way that the way it played out.
Right.
Like, if it had played out, if that video had instead been someone else, rich and famous, saying that they didn't like his food, and then them all turning on him, would have made way more sense thematically. That's all they needed. Like, these little, if another influencer had been like, Chef Paul's like a piece of shit, and, like, I always thought his food was overrated, and then they all turned.
I think it hits harder because his hubris has not let him felt it yet. We're seeing him still at his peak, and he doesn't even know it's hit him yet. Like, that's how fast it turns, and that's how
that's exactly what the turn would have been. It just, instead of it being because he killed a bird, it would be because, like, some other famous person didn't like his food, and then he dropped right there. Like, the most famous person didn't like his food or something. It just would have made more sense thematically.
I don't think he gives a shit about what they think, though.
See, and
but the turn would have worked exactly the same way.
He doesn't respect them. He's doing it to make them look like fools.
Yeah, that's why I don't get why it matters, because the point of it wasn't how he got canceled. The point of it was that something happened, and then all of the socialites turn against him. Actually, that one woman who was, what was her name? What did they call her?
Like Cleopatra. She was dressed up as Cleopatra.
Yeah, I don't know. She had some weird.
We're not finding her on IMDb.
Oh yeah.
But
Milky or something. Milky May.
Yeah.
Milky. Madam Milky.
Madam Milky.
But so when because she was the one who said, "I always thought his food was pretentious."
Yeah.
So
I'm with you.
She turned on him, but I think it kind of works that the reason of his downfall was kind of anticlimactic.
Yeah. It's like the little thing that he thought he was fine with, and that we saw is the other important thing. This movie does a really good job of paying off things you see, and if you like pay attention, listen to dialogue. Not saying you didn't, Nate, but if you like when you pay attention and listen to dialogue, like it pays off at the end, and I really enjoyed that about this movie.
And I think it also makes a difference that he was removed at the climax of their battle. Because she didn't beat him in the cook-off in this challenge that was happening.
Exactly.
He just got removed, and she's stuck there dealing with it because at that point her sole driving focus was to beat him, and then she wins by default. Yeah. And then as she wins and she's the winner and she's looking around and everyone and then they start the next the next show, the next the display that they're doing.
Yeah. I will say her dealing with the Hall of Victory was the most effective thing to me. Like that was her dealing with the aftermath after that of like realizing that this is all bullshit was obviously very effective.
I'm gonna provide a little context for the conversation about. And then I'm gonna talk about the bird, and then we're gonna go through the plot, and we'll break down what we thought. So check us on the Rum and Cinema podcast for the full version of this, where you can go through everything we just talked about, or watch the movie and both. Come back.